Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sacred Reference YouTube channel. This is my first live video, and I am feeling called to do this follow-up video after I just released a collaborative promotional sacred ritual with Julian Connard and the Stargate experience around igniting our universal fire and igniting the dragon and stepping into our sacred rage. And this comes as a launch to a program that I have been intuitively guided to bring forward right now. And this program is Sacred Rage. Now, for many of us in the spiritual community, there is this idea that anger and our rage doesn't have a place in it. But right now, we are at a pivotal moment where humanity has a choice, that each of us as individuals has a choice. And that choice in waking up, of creating a new society, of creating a new blueprint of what it means to be human. And the paradox about creating a new blueprint for what it means to be human means, in reality, claiming the blueprint of who we truly are. Now, in my research, I am a researcher and psychology student and in the field of transpersonal psychology. So mythology has always been something that has played a huge impact on my life. And a lot of my studies have been based around the mythological stories that are essentially everywhere in humanity. And what I didn't put together until after I started diving into more of the science, more of understanding our brain, our nervous system, is that the myth, one of the most profound myths of our time, the dragon myths, is quite literally connected to our nervous system. It is our primal instincts. And when we unpack these many myths around the dragon, what we have to do is track and really understand how the myth of the dragon has been oppressed, has been distorted. And that distortion in the myth is a way of holding humanity back. It's a way of trapping humanity into matter, trapping light in matter, as opposed to this idea of infusing light into matter. And so when we look at the dragon mythology, what has been discovered, what we know but is not really talked about so much, is that the dragon, Tiamat, the great dragon mother, who was the oceanic salt water. She was the salt sea serpent. So the earth was a ball of oceanic wonder. And this was Tiamat. She was this moving salt water. And her lover and her merged together as he the fresh waters and her the salt waters, and together they merge into union and create these offspring. And then the offspring start to come alive, and it creates a little bit more chaos, and a chaos that was not welcome. And this led into a story of her beloved actually planning to murder the children, and the children, the offspring of Tiamat, kind of hear about this plan and decide that they're gonna basically kill their dad. And in that, we we get to this part of the story where the children are now vengeful. Instead of like coming and talking to mom and coming and trying to figure out what's going on, they go and they slay their father. They slay the beloved of Tiamat. And she doesn't just accept this. She goes into a fit of fury and rage and becomes this uncontrollable, grieving, raging beast that, if you're making the connection, is this quite tied to the fears we have of unleashing our anger, because we don't want to be seen as that uncontrollable beast, and we don't want to have that part of us that when we unleash our anger we become so uncontrollable. So back to the story, when Tiamat is in that fighting, raging, grieving, she's so angry at her children, she's so angry that all of this happened. And so Marduk, I believe that's how you pronounce it, he gets wind of this and he's like, oh, I can control her, but if I slay her, I become the controller of destiny, the tablets of destiny. That's children, look, I'll control your mom. I'll get rid of the problem of your mom, but then I become in control. And they're just like, oh my gosh, just stop this from happening, anything to just make this stop happening. And so they agree to this plan. And there's many more pieces of this and many more pieces that we will look into when we go deep into the Sacred Rage um, workshop together. But so Marduk, he slays the dragon, he slays Tiamat, and then her body becomes the earth. Her body becomes the mountains. It becomes the lands upon which we live. And that story has followed humanity. And that's just a piece, because when we're working with mythology, we're treasure hunting. We're looking for the pieces. The mythology is kind of this roadmap for us to find these unconscious parts of ourselves. And in the fashion of Carl Jung, we're always looking to bring the unconscious parts of ourselves to the conscious. We're bringing the shadow into light. So as we unpack more of this story and we bring these clues together and we kind of see what has happened over these past thousands of years, what we're going to see is that what we consider this patriarchal society, the society that has brought us to the point where we are now, where our environment, our nature is completely at a detriment, because the dragon is nature, and to kill the dragon is to kill nature. It's to kill nature. And something that one of the many people I follow, but I really love this woman, her name is Holly Rayonen of the Avalon Awakening Temple. Something that I remember her sharing in one of her courses that I attended a while back is that she made this association of the word terror with the word terra. So the fear, the terror is connected to the land, because we ultimately fear what we can't control. And Tiamat was that which we could not control. She was that uncontrollable beast. So we fear her and we want to get rid of her. And so this is important to understand because it's it's these underlying stories. It's these archetypal images that all human beings are swimming in. And this is what we're drawing from. We're drawing from this pool of potential that's saying anger and rage are just awful because they're these expressions that take us to these uncontrollable places within us where we're just becoming the complete destroyers. And if we actually tap into that, then we are going to be destroyed ourselves. And if somebody is tapped into that, then we have to fear that because we have to fear what's uncontrollable. Yet we have to line all of this up together because the dragon, as we see, if we look at the archetypes that have been given to us over this course of thousands and thousands of years, we have the dragon as the guardian of the treasure. The guardian of treasure. The treasures are the abundance. She's guarding the land. She's guarding the resources. She is guarding all that we need to thrive, to live in abundance. And yet, there's these imprints of fearing her. There's these imprints that this is not something that we should be really looking to align with, that we should be going out and slaying. And so when I did the program this morning, Julianne pointed out that there are these stories. We see the Game of Thrones, which I have never watched, but she shared that it's about becoming one with the dragon and pairing with the dragons. And this is exactly it. So we're seeing these new myths arise. We're seeing the new myths arise of us uniting with the dragon. And I'm going to take it one step forward and say that in alignment with Jungian analyst Marion Woodman, who her work was a lot about rescuing these unclaimed parts of ourselves. She really emphasized that, this slaying of the dragon, it's a murder. It's like this imprint of murdering. And when we murder, when we kill the dragon actually becomes two dragons, because what we have forgotten about in our society is that after death comes rebirth. So we're just making it stronger. And really, where we need to move humanity more forward as we come into this new age is this place of not necessarily slaying and murdering the dragon, but coming to this place of sacrifice. And we all know that a lot of the pagan societies were based upon sacrifice. Yet the sacrifice that was occurring seemed to have got a little bit out of balance, because sacrifice is not something that one would do, would be forced to do. It's something that you would bring yourself forward. And what happened when those times shut down, and what we really have rose up in, is this opportunity to not necessarily, we don't have to sacrifice our body, but we need to sacrifice our shadow parts. And in order to sacrifice our shadow parts, we have to be really, really authentic with ourselves. Really, really aware of where these patterns of aggression, where these patterns of anger, where they're suppressed in us. Because this imprint of being afraid to become that uncontrollable beast, not allowing children to become that raging, uncontrollable beast. I laugh because I have a 4-year-old, and I'm aware that can happen, and that there's a container that we can hold for that. And that's part of what we're doing. We're learning how to create a container for rage. We're learning how to create a container for ourselves so that we can feel these healthy parts of ourselves. So why do we want to feel this stuff? Why do we want to feel this? Well, just as Tiamat was able to create, she was able to create out of her rage. When we look at that connection of the dragon and our primal instincts, and we say that mythology and the nervous system are linked, primal instincts, that happens in that, more basic brain functioning places, our limbic system, our reptilian brain. This is what controls our instincts. And so, in order to move forward, we have to be able to work with our instincts. We have to be able to recognize and move from a place of saying, I can safely feel the irritation. I can safely feel my capacity to use my fight and flight system, which is where one is when we're sensing rage or anger or frustration or aggression. I know how to use my fight or flight system to mobilize. That's it. We have to be able to mobilize. We have to be able to take ourselves and use that life force energy, because that's what it is. It's life force energy. We have to be able to take that life force energy and use it in a way that makes us sovereign beings. And I cannot be a sovereign being if I'm afraid to really go for it and assert myself, because I'm too scared that my anger is going to upset you, or that if I give my child boundaries, I'm just going to lose it and wind up doing something that I will regret later. Or if I get angry and tell my boss how I feel, I'm going to get fired. And we all know that those things are real. And why that's real is because we've never been taught healthy ways to feel our anger, to feel our aggression, to feel that vitality that's within us, and then to allow the body to discharge it. This is a very popular theme that I'm seeing all over the somatic experiencing world, in the trauma world, in the embodiment fields. So it's very interesting that it's coming in at this time. Now, astrologically, we are at a time where Saturn is moving out of Capricorn and it's moving into Aquarius, and it's going to do this dance a little bit. And these times are these energies of the planets, which are archetypal mythological frequencies. These are energies that are available to us. These energies are being sent down and merged with our conscious fields, and it's quite literally breaking down old systems. We're seeing the breakdown of old financial banking systems. We're seeing the breakdown of old ways of being. And if this breakdown continues its momentum, we're going to see a lot more uprising. We're going to see a lot more of people either claiming this healthy state of aggression and vitality to really bring humanity forward, or we're going to see them trapped into these cycles and patterns of violence and aggression and complete destruction. Now, that's not something to fear because guess what? We have the dragon with us, and the dragon tells us that she's going to offer us abundance no matter what. She's the guardian of abundance, she's the guardian of our treasures. She's the guardian, and she's not letting anybody have them. She's not letting anybody get them. She's holding them for you, she's holding them for me. And so while we have all of our treasure complete, she's giving us permission. She's giving us permission to feel ourselves. She's giving she's giving us permission to go within our own physical body and in creating that quantum awareness that past, present, and future exist at the same time. So what we do in this present moment affects what happened in the past, and it affects what happens in our future. So not only do we have this capacity when we work in this way of healing these parts of ourselves that were, wounded as children. Most of us, let's be honest, we're not allowed to express. We're not taught ways to express our healthy aggression, to express our vitality. And if you would like a challenge, I say this a lot. The next time you're at the grocery store and you see that 3-year-old screaming and raging for lollipops or for some sugar or for something they're not allowed to, that mama says no to, and they're, flailing on the floor and freaking out, notice what happens inside yourself. Notice what happens in your body when you see a little kid just kind of acting out their Tiamat energy. Their nervous systems, they don't know how to completely regulate at that point. And more interesting, here's another tip, another piece of understanding about how anger and rage get suppressed inside of us is that when we're children, when we're little children, we not only do we like mirror what we see and what we hear, but we also are energetically taking in what we feel in others. So if mom had repressed anger, if mom had repressed aggression, if mom or dad had issues with each other, you're just swimming in that. And you're not capable of expressing it. You don't have the platform, you don't have the place to just completely let that go. And we see that a lot. We see that in the kids that are labeled, sometimes on the spectrum, the at-risk youth. I worked with at-risk youth for a long time, and a lot of them had extreme aggression issues. And what that aggression was that they were living in a soup of aggression themselves. And then the energy is trapped inside them, and it's so intense that they just can't help it. They're just flailing and flying. So then our job as practitioners is to come in and to create that healthy space, to create these boundaries for them to be able to feel it, to be able to channel it. And that's what I would like to help you do. And I'm aware that this works. I'm aware that from my own experience growing up in a family where there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of rage. My parents were in survival mode all the time. They were immigrants. They were, scraping by all the time. They had their own mental health issues. They were, raised in very, very low income area with lots of violence and aggression, and scary things happened all the time. And then, they moved out of that area, but that area never moved out of them. So they were constantly in fight or flight. So that's what I learned. And so when I bring this work to you, I bring it from a place of, hey, I don't care what it is that's happening inside you, what you think you cannot feel because it's too big, or you don't want to feel, or um, if if you experienced violence as a child, and whether that meant you were spanked a lot, or you watched your parents fight, or you were forced to play sports way more aggressively than you wish to have. um, there's many ways to have experienced aggression, exposed to all the scary movies, wars and military zones. If those things were part of your reality, and I can go on and on and on and on about things like that, because when we do this program together, we're going to look at the tyrannical mother. We're going to look at the patriarchal father, because what we're forgetting to even, you know, I'm sorry, I'm gonna scratch those words and just say aggression and anger. It's insidious. It's kind of elusive. It operates and functions behind the scenes. It could be passive. And one of the greatest examples of that was the church. I was raised in the Catholic Church, and I know firsthand that it was a power over structure. You do what I say. I am the Almighty God, and God's going to punish you. The Bible, the Old Testament, the there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of aggression in that. And so not only do I want to help you learn how to tap inside the body and see where you could possibly be holding constriction, because anytime that you are under threat, whether it's perceived or real, or anything was way too much for you to understand, way too much for you to take in, mom and dad are yelling, or whatever the situation is. Whenever those types of situations arose for you as a child, and you did not have the opportunity to fight back, or you did not have the opportunity to say, hey, mom and dad, this is way too much for me, you got to stop screaming and yelling, or you got to get off my back, or I just need to leave, I can't handle this anymore. That is trapped energy inside you. And I do a lot of sessions. I work one-on-one with a lot of people, and many of them are part of this ascension network. And I will tell you, I have client after client after client that tells me they don't have anger issues. They don't have issues with anger. And yet, what the science is showing us, what Gabor Mate is bringing to light, what Irene Lyons is showing us, what Dr. Peter Levine is showing us, Bessel van der Kolk, all of the leading experts in contemporary psychology and science and trauma studies and neurobiology, what they are continually are saying is repressed anger is the root of depression. Repressed anger has a lot of roots in cancer. Repressed anger can show up as neurological disorders. Repressed anger is at the heart of a lot of disease. So while there are those that we are seeing in society that are becoming so uncontained with their anger, there's a reason why we fear uncontained rage, uncontained anger, because we see that when a child goes and gets a weapon and goes and murders and just kills people, innocent people, like shootings in schools and um, these horrific crimes. There's a war happening right now, and that war, these are people. This isn't necessarily about just, like the good versus evil. This is at its heart a fight for power. And if you're looking for power, it's because you fear powerlessness, and powerlessness is the root of anger. And you fear that there's not enough abundance for you. And as we've made this connection, the dragon mother, she's holding our treasure. She's holding our abundance. So not only do we need to completely begin to restore our body's natural capacity to feel, and I'm not talking about going and, biting your husband's head off or screaming at the lady at the grocery store. I'm talking about feeling your feelings that occur prior to you getting to the point of biting your husband's head off, screaming at the kids, arguing with the lady at the grocery store. I'll give you a great example of this. When I first started playing with this course a little bit, about putting it together, I was uh, having a lot of stuff come up between me and my children's father, who I am separated from. And there's a lot of dynamics in there that um, really make me have to step into my no. No, these are my boundaries. And like many of you that were raised in this patriarchal system, ugh, I hate that word, but I'm just going to use it for lack of better. I was raised as a people pleaser, because people pleasing is actually an aspect of our nervous system. It says that I am not going to risk losing any connection. So I'm just going to suppress and constrict so that I can please you. Because when I please you and I do what you say, then we stay in connection. And again, we're going to dive way deeper into that kind of stuff when we do this Sacred Rage course. So if you're not completely following that, or if that like rings a bell, that might be your call to sign up. Yet this people pleaser in me was preventing me from fully putting in and claiming my full boundaries with my ex. And so this sense of irritation started, building up inside me. Why? Because the body is the psyche. The body, it's connected to the soul, and it's shouting out to you, recognize me, see me, bring me into light, bring this unconscious, repressed pattern into light. It wants to be seen. So here I am, and I'm feeling my irritation. I could feel just like, and I take my daughter to the library, and we go to the library, and she's playing, and they have a little scavenger hunt. So we're doing it, and we're talking to the librarian, and um, the librarian hands me this paper for these upcoming mommy and me, or these playtimes that they were having together. And she says to me, "Oh, this is for non-traditional families, like grandparents that bring their children, or neighbors that bring their kids, or childcare providers." And in that moment, I could feel this like this like, oh, I was like so pissed. You can like see me as I'm doing this. I'm like, I'm pissed. Like, what are you talking about? Non-traditional caregivers? And that was just going through my head. Thank God I didn't bite this woman's head off. But I was like so irritated that they would have this special playtime for kids and their non-traditional caregivers. And I made a comment like, "Oh, so can parents bring their kids?" And she said, "Oh yeah, of course." And still, like, there was this like irritation in my body. And I was like, "Notice it, notice it, notice it, notice it, notice it." And I gave kind of like a fake smile, because fake it till you make it is sometimes necessary. And that might sound like it's contradicting what I'm saying, but okay, thank you. Thanks for the pamphlet. And I kind of just follow my daughter. And I just feel in my body, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Like I was going to rip that lady's head off. And in that moment, I just sacrificed myself to Tiamat. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this poor librarian, this woman is so sweet. And here I was like just about to rip her head off. And, and, and as I sat with it, as I allowed myself to feel, what became so apparent, oh, that triggered me. It triggered me that there's families where they have all the support of grandparent and friends and connections. They've all this support and help for their children, and here I am, single mom, roughing it on my own. My parents live across the country. I don't have much family, and a lot of my friends don't have kids, so they just don't get it, or their kids are older. They're all grown up, so they're not doing this kind of stuff. So I'm kind of at it alone. And, you know, really I'm pissed. I'm angry at my ex for bringing these extra pressures on me, and that understanding, that capacity, and this knowledge that I have of the nervous system, of the way anger works, it gave me that capacity to find my no with my ex. This opportunity where anger arose, and of course I didn't unleash and rip her head off, but I felt it, and I could feel. I gave myself the opportunity later on in that day, as I was processing, to like feel what that feels like, and to just sit at the feet of the dragon and let her know why I feel the way I do, and what it is I need, and how I need the support to look. And the anger dissipated, and I brought my daughter to that Thursday morning playtime, which was so amazing, and I was so grateful for the librarian. She's such a darling woman, and I was able to preserve a relationship, never cut her head off, and give my child this great opportunity, and be like, wow, like even the mamas are feeling so supported right now. She had a coffee stand there, so we can have coffee and little snacks, and like, how amazing is this? I'm feeling the support, I'm feeling everything. And that came from my opportunity, my ability to just feel my anger. That's just a little example. There's so many more. And as we do this work, and we continue to go hunting through the mythology, which, of course, if you'd like to do that, I strongly urge you, but that's what I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present all these examples of these templates, these frequencies that are in the collective, that are holding these anger patterns, that are holding us into these belief systems, that are ready to be sacrificed. Because guess what? Again, Marion Woodman, Jungian analyst, would say that sacrifice is the energy of transformation. So slaying is murder, but sacrificing is the energy of transformation. And isn't that what we're all going for? So I just wanted to add this because, again, I'm not necessarily an astrologer, but I have teachers that are astrologers and planetary astrologers and Jungian analysts. And I have been informed by that. And I'm aware that there's these shifts, there's these preparations that are being made. We're moving into the sign of Aries, which is that, like, he's the god of war. It's the god of war. And in this course, we're going to visit Athena, who is the goddess of warfare. So that's going to be in there. But really, Aries is more than this like destructive force. It's this like pioneering, raging, moving forward. It's mobilization energy. So what we are being asked to do is use this energy, these frequencies that are being energized and being sent to the planet, to ignite and to bring forward, to mobilize our heart's desires, our truth, our and to break through all these like hidden limitation, these patterns, and bring forward what's new. And all of us share this dream of what is possible for humanity. And one of the ways we're going to do that is that we have to mobilize, we have to set ourselves free, and we have to know our own shadows. With If we can't understand the shadow that we see out there, we can't understand the shadows of the dark, the the warfare, we can't understand the murder, we can't understand the child going in with the gun and killing all its classmates. We cannot understand the shadows out there until we understand the shadow within ourselves. And let me tell you, these people, if there was a capacity to feel and really access these energies in a raw way, in a container that I'm discussing, I guarantee you that some of these horrific acts would never happen in the first place. They would never happen. You can look at the studies. I worked at a center where in the state of California, where teenage boys were sent if you were considered too dangerous to be in society. They were the aggressive of the aggressive. And I can tell you that the reason that these children, these divine, innocent little beings, were behaving in the ways that they were behaving, it was because of the environment. It was because of the soup they were swimming in. And there was no boundary. There was no sacred container. There was no sacred masculine, which is that container that says, I got you. You can surrender because I got you. And you can bring, it's safe to bring your true self forward. It's safe for your soul to penetrate consciousness. They didn't have that. They had no access to that. So I am aware from my own professional life and from my studies and from my intuition that the more that we learn and we create these healthy patterns, we unlock our own healthy patterns of aggression. And so that we can come to our own sacred no, we can learn how to show our teeth, we can learn how to howl, we can learn how to growl, and I'm not saying you have to make a fool of yourself and behave like me. Sometimes you don't actually have to move the body, yet I'm aware that there's a lot of vital life force energy in the limbs that quite literally, if you go into a fight or flight pattern, that chemicals are released to your limbs. So there's energy there's a lot of energy there that wants to get used, and that could look like, that can look very different for very many different people. I'm a dancer. I love to move. I love to express. So that's why my movement looks like this, but I'm not telling you that that's what your movement has to look like. I'm saying that there is vital energy quite possibly trapped in your body that wants to move. And that can move through sound. It can move through wiggling. It can move through squeezing. It can move through pressure. It can move through getting some deep, 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 deep body work, and you're releasing something. There's just, it can move through swimming. It can move through so many different ways. And I'm not here to tell you how to make your body move. I'm going to give you examples of things that will begin to give your body permission. And in a pinch, you're going to be able to use them and say, oh, wow, that actually felt good. And I could feel my anger. Oh, and I could feel that anger leaving my body. Oh, I can feel that discharge. So then my brain, body, mind mechanism knows that that's over. It knows that, okay, I was angry in a moment and I felt it and I pushed it through. I used all that extra, those chemicals that went to my limbs. I used it and I moved it forward. I remember when my ex and I still lived together, and was still working with these, you know, these concepts, and I was using them. He was in a really volatile place. He was abusing alcohol and kind of creating these scenarios that would like bring me to fight with him. And I just wasn't participating, but I also wasn't backing down. And I would go into the bathroom and I would lock myself in the bathroom and be like, you know, like feel this stuff. And after I would I can feel it leave. I can feel my capacity to function, to, continue forward with what it is that I want to do, all because I allowed it to come and I allowed it to go. And I didn't pretend that I wasn't affected by it, because I was. Because guess what? We human beings, we're not listening to words. We aren't necessarily responding to each other's this what we're saying. We're responding to each other's nervous systems. There's a term for that. Stephen Porges, the breakthrough scientist that discovered the polyvagal theory, which we're going to dive into. The polyvagal theory is an understanding that our nervous system has 3 tiers. So we're going to dive into that. And something that he has really brought to light for us is this understanding that we have this sense called interoception. And interoception is exactly what I was saying, that it's this sense, we think we have 5 senses. We have many senses, and one of them is this interoception. And it's that our nervous systems are actually speaking and they're linking up. And it goes back to what I was saying about the child feeling the feelings of the adult, because children don't just do that, adults do that. And the difference is, as an adult, if you're around somebody whose nervous system is all jacked up or all shut down, and you don't feel comfortable with it, you are more likely to have the capacity to say, well, I got to go. I'll see you later. Or I'm not participating in this, or I'm going to run to the bathroom so I can, curse and scream at you and get out all that rage before I go off and do the other thing. So I hope that explains some of that for you. And if any of this ignites questions, or you want to know more about something, write that to me. Those are things that I will address in the course, or I can communicate to you in some way. I will answer your questions. And if something's like, well, I want to know more about this, or this doesn't make sense, then that's what this course is about, because I'm just here throwing out information, hoping that that this stirs some excitement in the field, because we are quite literally at a place where we're steering humanity in a new way, and we're moving this, and we're anchoring, and we're making solid, and we're bringing forward this new Aries moon energy that we're moving into, is propelling something new forward. And we're bringing forward these new myths. We're bringing forward our connection with the dragon mother, the guardian of our treasure, the sovereign being who owns her primal instincts and knows how to master her primal instincts. And we're going to dive a little bit into her myth, the dragon myths, as well as some of the mythology from Western civilization, the Greek myth. We're going to see that there's a lot to be angry about over the past thousands of years, and there's a lot to reconcile. There's a lot that we need to bring forward and say, mama, I messed up, or, oh, I did this, or, oh, I felt this. And as we bring these things forward, and we're still loved anyway because we're worthy of love no matter who we are, no matter what we do, no matter what mistake we made. We can see that, oh yeah, actually I was acting out this unconscious pattern that was imprinted in me, and was my soul saying, hey, pay attention because this isn't integrated. So we don't have to feel bad about it. We don't have to. I mean, of course we have this mechanism of guilt if we like hurt another human being, thank goodness. But we don't have to feel shame about it. We can move that shame into a more healthier pattern of like of what Irene Lyons, nervous system expert, would call healthy guilt, which keeps us in check. And we can allow these archetypal beings, these goddesses, to bring forward what has been oppressed, because that's another thing we have to notice and look at, that the true identities have been oppressed. So that's enough for today. I don't want to overload you because this is a lot of heady information, and and I'm aware that taking in too much, the nervous system can only take in so much before it starts to go into dysregulation. So I don't want to have dysregulated you, or if I have, because that's always possible. That happens when I listen to an astrology reading sometimes, or watch TV. That one thing to begin on this journey of the dragon is to notice, like, okay, I can't take in anymore, and I need to pause that. Or this is pissing me off. Why is this pissing me off? Like, and quite naturally, it will show you that it's just a trigger for something deeper. So if any of that happen, welcome it here. And I am just going to offer you one last suggestion in working with the archetype of the dragon. We did this morning in my promotional igniting the universal fire, the dragon, to just kind of anchor yourself, feel your sit bones grounded to the ground, feel your feet, and begin to sigh. And if you're embarrassed because someone else can hear this, or you're in public and you want to do this later, I'm just going to say, then don't do it now, and do it later when you feel safe, when you feel comfortable. But I'm going to invite you to find your dragon breath, your fire. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. And after we release, we're going to allow the body, we're going to pay attention to what happens right after. Allow the body to release, allow the body to recalibrate. And if my voice sounds weird, it's just because I'm doing that. So the reason that we want to do that is because many of us know what the charge of anger feels like, but we don't know the discharge. And that's the issue. We feel the charge and we suppress it. So that's something that we're going to learn how to do. And this is the first introduction into that. So again, I'm going to invite you to breathe in and then just feeling. Noticing where you feel it, noticing what was impacted. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to invite you to do one more. Breathing in. Feeling. Noticing what happens inside. I'm aware that that really was a lot of energy moving in my gut. And another one of my somatic teachers, embodiment teachers, Judith Blackstone, she wrote in one of her books, this was just a quote that I wrote down somewhere because I loved it, that we cannot cut ourselves from expressing anger except by closing off our throat, or from feeling anger by constricting our gut and other parts of the body involved in that emotion. So I'm sorry, I'm reading my own handwriting there. So we can't, when we are cutting ourselves off from anger, we're very likely having to throat and constrict in the gut. So when we do little exercises like the one we just did now, and we feel this energy moving like in our throat area, in our gut area, that's kind of awakening and stirring stuff inside us. So and that's why I'm asking you to sit and feel after, to feel that discharge, because it will begin to like move energy out. So I hope you found this useful and helpful. Please feel free to get in touch with any questions. Sign up for my course if you're interested, and learn and unpack so much more in on the topics that I have just put out here. I am grateful and honored to be walking this journey with you, and I'll see you in the field. Much love. Bye-bye.